So you want to swap your OBS or something like it. I'm seeing my headliner laying down. Anyway, this is a 94 OBS. How I swap my 94 OBS LS swap. Simple Simon. All links. I'll try to put all links in the description. 94. Go out and find your 94 OBS, whether that be extended cab, whether that be single cab, whether that be step side. Go ahead and just grab you one. Grab you one. Get you a 5.3 Gen 3, Gen 4, whichever, but this is going to be a Gen 3. Found sitting in the yard. Just came from a barn. Had a V6 in it. 4L60. Not sure that that was the original transmission. Went ahead and opted for a 4L60 out of a 95 Impala, and then a 5.3 from a local wrecking yard. I have no idea how many miles is on this engine. The condition, I never even pulled it apart. I didn't pull the valve covers off. I didn't do anything. I did have to change the intake because I had issues with some injectors. Instead of just changing the injectors, I just changed the whole intake. Gen 3, of course. Get you a 5.3. Get you a 4L60. Get you a computer. And get you a harness. It's a Simple Simon here, man. This is nothing fancy. No frills. No nothing, man. Get you some slider adapter mounts. I'll put a link in there. Get you adapter mounts for the slider mounts. What did I ended up doing? I just changed the motor mounts, which this V6 had a set of V6 mounts, which wouldn't work for a V8 engine. So I changed them over to small block Chevy style motor mounts. Then I went and got some slider mounts. I'll go ahead and put a picture of those in off of Amazon. I'm running a fuel pump from a 96 and up OBS. That's the fuel pump that's in the tank. The tank, I was running a stock tank, then I was running a 98 tank, but then it has a bunch of pressure valves and a bunch of other stuff in it, and not only that, it was leaking. So I switched it over, went ahead and got a factory 94 fuel tank. With this being what you would call a TBI engine originally, this was a TBI engine originally. It does have a baffle in the tank. Does my float just go everywhere sometimes? Yes, it does. But I do got a pretty good idea how much fuel I got in it. All my gauges work, but the temp. You can use the factory oil pressure sending unit plug. So you plug that up right into the engine. That's what I did. And then, as far as your alternator goes, that should, when you wire up your LS harness, that should go ahead and send power to that to let you know that, hey, we have power. Then you've got temp sensor and oil pressure gauge. Like I said, the temp sensor, you have to get a 99. It's either 99 or 98 LS1. It's a 5.7 3 plug style, and then the LS temp sensor should work with your factory temp sensor. I've yet to get one. Let me flip this thing around, let y'all see. I've yet to get one. The engine light is not hooked up. I think I'm gonna wire that in. The brake light, I have no idea why that is on. The speedo does work. All I did was tap the factory wires into the wires from the 4L60. That's all I did. 4L60 speed sensor wires. I tapped the factory wires from the truck into them wires, and my speedo works. That's all I did. Of course, you see there's a oil gauge. Fuel gauge doesn't. Temp gauge isn't working. Only because, again, I don't have the 3-wire style sending unit. Can I run another temp sensor on the opposite side of the engine and get that to work? I don't know. I've never done that. Some people say you can, some people say you can't. I don't know. With the slider mounts that you buy, you can, with the 4L60 or 4L80, this is 2-wheel drive, you can still run your same drive shaft. You don't have to go and do anything with a drive shaft, which is a plus. Man. So, slide your mount back, slide your mount forward. Just do whatever you need to do to make that work. This truck, I've drove it since I put it together. I've driven it every day. I've got so much faith in it that I sold my other daily driver, and this is all I drive. This is all I have to drive right now. So, and I don't know how many miles I've put on it, but I've drove it. And I mean, I've drove it. Do I have some issues that wasn't aware of? Yes. I do have an oil leak. My oil pan gasket is leaking. I wasn't aware of that. Again, like I said, I just put the motor in, didn't go through the engine, didn't check the engine, it rotates. You know the old saying, it spins and wins? That's what I did. How to wire up your LS. Same way you would do on a small block Chevy. This wire here sends signal to the ignition, which would be your distributor that goes to your ignition source on your harness. These wires here go to your starter. This one here goes to your starter. You have a hot wire go to your starter, and that powers up the whole entire wiring here. And then this one here goes to your starter also. That is your key ignition wire. Those 3 wires plus a ground. You definitely want to ground the chassis to the engine, and that should fire up your car. Wire this up to your engine, 536048 Gen 3. Straight to your starter with these 2 wires, constant hot. Straight to the block, to your head on with this wire, it's a ground. And then here you have an ignition relay and a fuel pump relay. Your ignition relay, this red wire, is what gives a power to the whole harness when you key on with this wire here. Then over here you have a fuel pump relay. If you look in there, it's not completely wired. You have to add a wire, which will be a constant hot, fused hot, and then you add another wire, which would be going straight to your fuel pump.